Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So I've always been preaching on my channel that I always make two offers whenever buying multifamily real estate. So the first offer is a conventional loan based on the debt service coverage ratio, and that is at the mercy of today's interest rates. So for example, your DSCSR loan today, it's going to be for me 25% down. It might be amortized over 20 years if it's older, 25 years, or 30 years, depending on the age of the property. And then I'm going to have an 8% interest rate, and you're probably going to have like a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year balloon, right? So that's your conventional loan. And my offer is going to be lower because I'm limited based on the debt service coverage ratio. That has to be greater than 1.25, which means that if the loan is $10,000 a month, your NOI has to be at least $12,000, right? Or close to $13,000. So because of that debt service coverage ratio is a limiting factor, my offer is gonna be a lot lower, right? Because my loan amount is 75%. I'm gonna put, I have an 8% interest rate. So I'm really at the mercy of the interest rates, right? And if it's 8, so that's how I make my offer accordingly, right? So that's my first offer. So for example, in my 80-unit apartment complex that I'm offering on, that's gonna be about $3.2 million, right? For reference. My second offer was always a creative financing offer, and this is assuming that the property is owned free and clear. So I would do 10% down, the seller would carry 90%, and then my typical term would be at least 10 years, and my interest rate to begin with would be 5%. This is just a rule of thumb, right? So everything's negotiable, right? Like I don't negotiate the 10% down. I'm really heavy on that. But the term, I want at least 10 years. Interest rate, it's negotiable, right? 5% is kind of like my starting point, right? But you can get 2%, you can get 3%. Never hurts to ask, right? People might be like, oh, this is subprime mortgage, right? Why would I lend you at 5? I'm like, well, I'm overpaying for the property. But my creative offer for context would be about $4 million, right? So for context, let's just make it easy. My DSCSR offer is going to be $3 million for 80-unit apartment complex. My creative financing offer where the seller is going to carry 90% of the money, it's going to be $4 million, right? So that's between $3 million and $4 million. So I'll pay you $1 million more, but you're going to become the bank and you're going to carry 90% of the money. So these are my two offers. And I show that disparity because I want them to do creative financing. Because with creative financing, I put 10% down. It's going to cash flow better day one. And it gives me more time to make competitive offers. It allows me to make a higher offer. And on top of that, the seller pays less capital gains tax. It's a faster close. It's a win-win situation in my mind, right? With the DSCSR loan, it's only a win for me because I just have to buy a low price, right? But I have to put 25% down, and the seller, they don't get the price they want. So that's my two offer method. But now I have a third offer that I just learned about through Velocity Mortgage. You can reach out to me, and I'm happy to refer you to my loan officer at Velocity Mortgage. But they have something called a 50-40-10 loan product. So let me break that down for you. The 50% is coming from Velocity Mortgage, right? And the interest rate is going to be a little bit higher, right? It's going to be, let's call it 9% for simplicity. I think it's like low 9s. The 40% is the seller carries second, right? So they'll allow the seller to carry a second position. At this point, it's all negotiable, right? The 40% is negotiable. So you can be 1%, it could be 2%, it could be 3%, right? But what makes it game changing is if at 50% of the loan is at 9%, and let's say 40% is going to be at 3% for easy math. My blended interest rate is going to be 9 plus 3, which is 12. That's a 6% interest rate, right? So I have a lower interest rate with this 50-40-10 product. And also, so I'm getting a 6% blended interest rate, which is beautiful. So I can make a more aggressive offer. And on top of that, I'm getting my 10% down. I'm putting down 10%, right? So why this is game changing for me is because, like a lot of sellers, they don't want to carry 90% of the money because they want some of the money. There's a reason why they're selling. They're selling because they want the money to retire. They want the money to put in a business. They just want the money, right? So it's hard to pitch, hey, can you carry 90% of the money? That's a little bit harder to sell unless they want it. Like, don't get me wrong. If they want that, by all means, I'll play ball, right? But a lot of sellers that I came across and that my students come across, they don't want to carry 90%, but will they be open to carrying 40? If that's the case, I could put, they get 60% of their money. I get a blended interest rate that's like 6%. I'm only putting 10% down. It's a win-win situation. So this is how my 3 offers now stack. So my conventional offer, 25% down based on DSCSR, interest rate's going to be 8%. My offer is going to be about $3 million for 80 unit. My 50-40-10 offer, so it's going to be about midpoint. It's going to be about $3.5 million. Let's just call it. And then in this one, 50% is coming from Velocity Mortgage. 40% is coming from the seller in a second position. And like I said, you're going to negotiate that interest rate so that your blended interest rate is going to work, right? And, the blended interest rate should be less than, 8%, which is what my conventional loan is. So like I said, for simple math, 9% plus 3% is 12%, divided by 2, you have a 6% blended interest rate. If I get a 1% interest rate, that would be 9 plus 1 is 10. That's a 5% interest rate. So there you go. You have a 5% interest rate loan, right? That's blended. And you're going to ask yourself, well, who would give you a 1% interest rate? Well, like I wouldn't personally give it, but who knows? Don't project them to the seller, right? Don't project them to the seller. And I pitch it as, hey, I'm overpaying for this property. Like, look at it. If I give you conventional loan, I'm giving you $3 million. With this 50-40-10 product, and if you give me a 1% interest rate so that I can cash flow day one, so that I can pay you and I can pay the lender, I can offer $3.5 million. So your money is made because I'm paying you $500,000 more compared to a conventional offer. So would you take a 1% interest rate? Maybe, right? So at that point, we'd be at a 5% blended interest rate if they seller carry second at 1%, or if they seller carry second at 3%, then it's going to be 6%, right? So I'll adjust my offer accordingly. If he gives me a lower interest rate on the money, I could make a more aggressive offer. If he gives me a higher interest rate on the money, my offer is less aggressive, right? It's just math. And then my final offer is that I put 10% down, the seller will carry 90%. Once again, I would start a 5% interest only rate, but this one I'm overpaying by 1 million. So at that point, I would be like, those are my 3 offers. You want conventional loan? $3 million. You want the 50-40-10? You get 60% of your money, you carry 40 for me, I'll give you 3.5. And we'll negotiate the seller carry second. If you want to do 90% seller carry, by all means, I'm open for that. Best for you, best for me. And, I'll give you $4 million. So now that I have these 3 offers in my tool belt, it makes me more lethal, right? Because there's a lot of owners who want to sell at a higher price. They want to sell at 2021 prices when interest rates are 4% and cap rates are lower. But today, interest rates are 8%, cap rates are higher. But if I do this 50-40-10 product, not only can I get a blended interest rate of 5 potentially, because I'm getting 9, 50% at 9. If the 40 is at 1, that's 10 total divided by 2. That's a 5% blended. There you go. You have a 5% interest rate, right? I just manufactured it using creative financing and only put 10% down the deal. So I'd put $350K in the deal. That's beautiful, right? That's beautiful for me. And like you can stack that on with a bridge financing if you do renovation, right? So like that's the beauty of working with like Velocity Mortgage, because they work with investors and you can get creative. Like I want to buy deals without raising money, right? I want to just put 10% down because I want to leverage my money and maximize my potential. So like to me that was like super game changing when I heard about it on one rental at a time. I remember I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, oh my God, this changes everything. Like I asked so many lenders. No, I think Velocity is the only lender that allows a seller carry second. I asked my other lender, CoreVest, and they don't offer that product either. So I was just like, wow, this gives me another tool in the tool belt so that, like I said, it's hard to pitch 90% seller carry, and it's a hard pill to swallow. And I'm offering you $3 million when they want like 4 million, right? But would they swallow 3.5 million and they seller carry second 40%? Maybe, right? So, people are going to say no to you, but as long as you have solutions and you just do numbers, it makes sense, right? So I'm hoping to buy some real estate using this 50/40/10 product, as well as maybe 100% seller or 90% seller financing, right? So it really depends, but I really think this 50/40/10 product is a perfect middle ground, and it's really nice. And it gives me more options now as an investor, and it's what I've been kind of teaching my students as well. Like, now we have this new product under our belt. So once again, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to refer you over. um, just send me an email or put a message down below. I'll give you my email. You can email me. But yeah, it's really game changing now that I can do these 3 offers. So hopefully this gives you some insight as to how I make offers now with multifamily. I went from 2 offers to now 3 to give me more options. And this 50/40/10 product has been really game changing for me. So anyways, if you want to learn how to buy multifamily real estate with some guidance, with some mentorship, check out my link down below. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what questions you have. Thank you so much.